All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for the first time ever live from the hashtag Bob Cave. We are here back on the Bob Culture Podcast. Farmer right now to, I got to introduce the co-host with the best smelling human on the planet. We need a moment of Chris right now. No. Please welcome back to the show, hashtag Wrestlers Love, Mr. Chris Nunez. Mr. Chris Nunez, what's up, bro? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing great. Hanging out in the Bob Cave.
Yeah, it's coming along, man. It's looking good. I gave you guys a little bit of a tour on Instagram and Facebook Live. We'll get to the shameless promo later. Said we need some good karma right now, bro. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the conduit of karma, up-and-coming wrestler, the beautiful and talented Miss Kaia McKenna. Kaia, what's up? Thanks for a few minutes. How are you?
You guys are so nice. I'm so glad to be here, honestly. I can't wait to talk to you guys. I've been looking forward to it all week. So hopefully we're going to have a good show today.
No, we really appreciate a few minutes of your time. You just came
so much.
A great debut at Goddesses. A little bit, I saw a picture after that match with Debbie Kane, a little bit of cheating. You and I know a little bit about that story, a little bit of cheating. I digress. But a little bit of the hooking of the tights there at the end of the match. Your thoughts on your very first match and the way it ended?
I honestly was just so surprised when she grabbed my tights. I was like, I'm new, I'm the rookie, you're supposed to be this big badass girl, and like you have to cheat. You really have to cheat. Okay. I think that action in itself, and the way the match unfolded is just very telling in general. So I'm looking forward to hopefully having another shot at redemption at the next Goddesses show, September 26th in Ocean Gate, New Jersey. So.
That's right, September 26th. Yeah. And the Goddesses brand, I loved that show. It was great. It had a little bit of everything. You ladies really knocked it out of the park. What does it mean to you to be associated with that Goddesses brand?
I honestly am so excited about it. I think that they have such a good pool of talent for female wrestlers out there, and so much variety, right? Everybody there is truly an individual and is just so good at what they do. So there's the possibilities for the future are endless for Goddesses, in my opinion. There's so many people there that I would love to have matches with, and I think that's incredible. The fans seem to really have a great time when they come out, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing is that it's a good environment for people to be in. So I think the sky's the limit with Goddesses. It's only going to go up.
I completely agree. And what were the nerves like going into your very first match not that long ago?
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's one of those things where you have that I've been training my whole life for this moment sensation, right? But at the end of the day, your music hits and you just got to go do the thing. You just have to go out there and do it. You have to be confident in your ability. You have to know in your mind you're going to win, right? You can't doubt yourself or your ability. You have to truly believe you're going to win. And there's just not time. Once you're out there, there's not time to backtrack or be nervous or doubt yourself. You just have to go. So I had a lot of nerves the day of, but when it came time to do the match, I was ready. I was in the right mindset. And I was a mess driving up there. I was so nervous. But I couldn't even eat. I was just so rung up, and because you work so hard, and when you're really passionate about what you do, you want to make a good impression and you want to make the fans happy, and you want to win, right? So you have all of this in the back of your head, and it can be very overwhelming. But when the moment comes for you to step into the ring and do your thing, all of that takes a back seat.
Absolutely. And hell of a debut. I think I saw your tweet after the show. You're like, oh, now I got to drive home 3 hours in my gear and all that. That stuff. But it was worth it.
I drove home 3 hours because I brought my mom to my first show because my mom is very nice. All of this. So I brought her up there, but she had to be back in Maryland. And then I had to be back in Atlantic City the next day to help out at another promotion. So I literally, after intermission, got in my car, drove 4 hours back to Maryland, slept for maybe 3 or 4 hours, then got back in my car and drove up to Atlantic City. And I was there for 2 days. So
now what was mom's reaction?
My mom was a trauma nurse for years. So.
Oh, wow. So was she nervous for you? Has she ever watched you train, or this was the first time she ever saw you take bumps or anything?
I actually come from a wrestling family. My family loves wrestling. So my mom was all about it. When I said I wanted to do it, she was all about it. Just the mom thing of be careful, it's dangerous, and she's right, it is. Yeah. So But she's always been all about it and been very supportive. I feel very fortunate that my family, even my dad and my brother and my aunt, like think it's the coolest thing. And I feel lucky because there are a lot of people in wrestling that pursue wrestling that do not have that familial support. So I would never take that for granted, that they want to come watch me do this is just such a gift, you know?
Yeah, they get it because this business is such a circus. It really is.
Yeah.
But it's been very good to us. We love it. That's really cool that they get it. So not to be cliche here, but let's rewind a little bit. You know, how did you, it sounds like you come from a wrestling family. How did you kind of get your start in the business? I did see a little bit of that Black and Brave, Seth Rollins, a little bit of the training going on there. Tell us a little bit about that whole origin story.
Okay, I'll start off. We'll go way, way back. So like obviously being in a wrestling family, like I grew up in a small town in Maryland where every Monday night we sat on the couch and watched Raw together and ate dinner, like on TV trays. Like we were that family. And I would not ever change that because I just have so many good memories with my family watching wrestling. Growing up on the East Coast, I watched a lot of ECW. I liked WCW. My parents actually would take us to indie shows when we were like teenagers. So
really, that's awesome.
yeah, like when I was younger, like I say younger, when I was like 13 and 14, I remember like going up to Philly to see Ring of Honor at the Armory. And so I've always kind of been aware that independent wrestling exists, right? There's a space for it. And obviously I've always been a lifelong fan of like all wrestling. I didn't realize it was something you could pursue until I was a little bit older. I have a martial arts background. I did competitive martial arts growing up and all through college. And I was at a SmackDown with a friend and he was like, why don't you do this? Like, you love wrestling. You have the background for it. Like, have you ever thought of like trying to do this? And I was like, people do this? Why? Like you can actually pursue this? Because it always seemed like it was very pie in the sky. And maybe that's just because of the era that I grew up in where you had people like Hulk Hogan that just felt absolutely larger than life.
Yeah, exactly. Like cartoon characters.
It was there, but it was not what it is today. So it didn't seem as accessible or doable. So I never had really thought about it, but I was like, you know what, you're right. I'm going to see if I can get in on this. So what I started doing was I started just kind of showing up at shows. And I would help set up the ring and I would help put chairs and do tickets and whatever, like runs, you name it. And what I would hope is that there would be time between when the ring went up and when the show started that I could get in there and like pick up bits and pieces from the people that were there. So I really tried to use the opportunity of setting up to talk to people and get to know them a little bit. So maybe they liked me enough within 2 hours to tell me something, right? So that was my start. And once I kind of fell into that, I started managing for a tag team on the East Coast called Riot City. And I would go to shows with them. Sick End, Vic Ramone. And I would go to shows with them and I would manage them in their matches, but I would also still do ring crew. One of the things that I learned was if I was serious about wrestling and I really wanted to be successful, I needed to get formal training. Like I couldn't just keep showing up at shows and like begging for scraps. Like I needed to take it seriously. So, when I had that realization, I decided to attend Black and Brave Wrestling Academy in Davenport, Iowa. That was this past January.
Wow.
And it is months. Okay, it is not a very long program. They have a system where they get it in. Like Rollins is great, Merrick Brave is great, Crotch is great. They're a great coaching team. Like all of them have strengths. They balance each other, and what they're in is true, and they do it the right way, which is just such a huge thing too. Like you don't leave there feeling anything but confident in your ability to go and work with people and be safe and know what you're doing. So it's a great, but this guy's like a WWE champion, right? He's doing something right. You have to admit, there's not many people who can say they were WWE champion. So it's worth doing. Like, honestly, I would, if I had to go anywhere else, I would probably still go to the same place. It's very tough. He runs a very tough school. He has very high physical conditioning standards. But all of that is super important because when you wrestle, you need to be in shape. Because if you're not in shape and you're not ready, you're not going to win.
Absolutely. So you mentioned Black and Brave. We had, I don't know if you're familiar with, a lot of people that come out of there and a lot of great products coming out of there right now. Dion Roosman, the Iceberg, are you familiar with him? At WrestlePro. He's fantastic. A lot of great products coming out of there. And you said you started in January, is that correct?
I went to Black and Brave from January to the end of March this year. Yes, I was in class 17.
Wow, just like that, and you're already killing it in the ring. So that's awesome to hear. Now, what are kind of your, obviously you're just getting started here as far as in-ring competition, but what are kind of your small goals and then your big goals moving forward?
Do you guys really want to know what my goal is right now?
Uh-oh, yeah.
Now we definitely want to know.
I want to have a match in air conditioning, okay?
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
All joking aside, though, one of the goals I had for myself when I came out of wrestling school was within a year, I wanted to have a match that was on TV, whether that be like an actual match like on cable TV or IWTV. I just wanted to have something that had that degree of exposure. And I didn't box myself in by saying like I wanted to work at this company or I wanted to be at this specific place. I left it very broad because then it would open many more opportunities, right? And I actually met that goal this past weekend. So I guess I have to find a bigger goal now.
Can you give us some specifics about what went on this past weekend, or is it hush hush right now?
I had the pleasure of working for PAWD DC, Fight Club Pro. They're a promotion in the Baltimore DC metro area that books a lot of diverse talent, which is just absolutely incredible and super progressive nowadays, because as much as we like to think wrestling is a very diverse open space, it's not. Like if you're fortunate enough to be in one of those places in wrestling, then that's great, but there are a lot of places that do not embrace diversity in performers or gimmicks or backgrounds of performers. And I just felt so privileged to be on a show with those people. I had a triple threat match. You guys will have to stay tuned and watch Summer Jam on IW.
Oh, okay.
To find out the how that panned out for me. But it's a great promotion. It's a great promotion. It's home to the Chocolate City Customs Championship, the Pan African Championship. And I think it's incredible that they create a space for all walks of life in wrestling to be embraced and have a platform.
Very, very cool. And just one more question from me about as far as the training is concerned. I find it very interesting making that jump from martial arts to the world of wrestling.
Yeah, that's a crazy transition.
Did that make it easier for you? Was it like a whole new world? What was it like?
I think it made it easier for me in the sense of I had a very strong sense of discipline going into it, which is something that not a lot of people have if they've never done a professional sport or like played a sport in high school, for example. There are a lot of people that pursue wrestling that have never played a sport in their life. So that's a big change for a lot of people. I think that was a huge advantage I had. And I think the other advantage I had is I was just used to contact sports. So when you're taking those first bumps, when you're taking the first big bumps, when you're having days where you're beat up and you're sore, like I already had experienced that from prior athletic adventures. So not that it wasn't hard on me mentally or anything, but I felt like I was better equipped to get through that versus somebody who maybe didn't have that background. Like I knew that there were going to be days where I was going to be sore. I knew that there were things that were just going to suck. But I also knew that that wasn't the end of the world and that it's worth it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel and you have to keep going. So as far as like being mentally and physically prepared, I think it did help me in that sense. It made me like not as afraid. Like if that even makes the thing, like I was a little bit more confident that like, okay, this is hard. I do not doubt my ability to be able to do this and to graduate. So
she's tough chick. But yeah, everyone watch out. Kaia's coming. What do you got, Nunes?
So you mentioned before you grew up watching wrestling, WWF at the time, ECW, WCW. Two-part question. Who were some of your favorites growing up?
Okay.
And then you mentioned, you would get advice from people and, you'd help set up the ring. Who are some of the people you got advice from, and what are some of the best pieces of advice that you've gotten, being so early in your career?
Oh my goodness. Okay, there are a couple, and like, what do you guys want to talk about first? Like, do you want to talk about, let's talk about advice, and then we'll segue into wrestlers that I really
Okay, yeah, okay.
I'm trying to think of some really good advice that I have gotten in wrestling, because you never are expecting to get it when it happens. It's always very momentary. And I think this is so crazy. So very early on, like before I even went to wrestling school, I sat in on a seminar with Jeff Jarrett, and he said that like no matter what happens in wrestling, there are things you are always in control of. Like you might not be in control of like where you're wrestling or like what you're doing when you get there, but you know, you're always in control of a couple of things. And one of those is you can always become a better promo. You can always go to the gym and have a better body, and you can always develop your character to have more depth. Like those are 3 things that are always within your control. And he's totally right.
Like, that's excellent advice. Yeah.
You know, and especially like now in the current times with the pandemic, like that advice has like really hit hard for me. It's like, okay, so perhaps actual in-ring opportunities are few and far between right now, but I can still be in good shape. I can train. I can work on my look. I can work on my promo. There are ways I can better myself as a performer. I don't need to be in the ring to do that. So that's one of those things like I heard early on, was like, yeah, okay. And I remembered it. And then like later on it came back and it was like very, very helpful. So
like, oh, he was right.
Yeah, there was not a doubt in my mind that he was right when he said it. I was like, he's not wrong. Like he's 100% right. But that has been something that I feel like I've always kind of touched back on throughout my short career. What else? Let me see. I know that I've gotten a bunch of gems. I actually received, I don't know if you guys know Killian McMurphy. He's an independent wrestler out here on the East Coast. He's very, very good. And one of the things he told me was like, you always want to be aware of where you're splitting and spending your time when you're trying to become a better wrestler. So like, don't put all of your eggs in one basket doing one thing, grinding. He's like, make sure you're training, make sure you're actually doing shows so you get to have opportunity and you get to get better. And make sure that you're also like taking the time to like go other places for the sheer purpose of just meeting people and networking. And if you split your time up wisely, you will find success come to you a lot easier. So that's something I've also tried to always keep in mind, is like to be very mindful like where I go and what I do in wrestling, and like think about the long game, think about the short game, and try not to like just throw everything in one hope, you know? So that's been a very good piece of advice. And that's a good thing in life too. Like, you know, if you're trying to be successful.
I was about to say, it's very good life advice, not even just wrestling.
Yeah, like let's say you work an office job. It's like, you know, you want to spend time getting to know the people in your office. You want to spend time doing your job really, really, really well. And then you want to spend time getting better. So it's like, you could apply that to anything you do in life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So those would be 2 really good pieces of wrestling advice that I have received.
Really great. And then just some of your favorites. You know, you said you watched with your family. Some of your favorites growing up.
Okay. There's a match I really, really, really love. Because my favorite wrestler is Dean Malenko. And
the Iceman. Good choice. Yes. Texas Overleaf. Like it.
A lot of people throw out, right? I remember like when I was in wrestling school, they ask you this question, and like everybody's like, oh, I like Roman Reigns, or oh, I like Randy Orton, or, you know, and those guys are great too. Like, I'm not saying anything there, but I was like, when I said that, there was definitely like a 3-second pause before somebody started speaking again. So, but I love Dean Malenko. I think he's a super incredible wrestler. Like, he gets really it.
Underrated.
Yeah, he's so good. He can have a good match with anybody. He was such a good base for the cruiserweights in WCW, like just getting them through their matches with their crazy cruiserweight shit. Like, and just such a sound technician. And one of my favorite matches of his is actually the 2 out of 3 falls match he had with Eddie Guerrero. It's on ECW TV in August of 1995, if you guys want to look it up in the network. I believe it was...
I believe that's the match right before they left for WCW, correct?
It is. It's the last one before they left for WCW. But, yeah, I think it's August 26, 1995, if I remember correctly. And I only know that off the top of my head because I watch it all the time, so I know exactly where to, like, go in and find it, right? But it's just such an incredible display of showmanship and skill. They understand how wrestling is supposed to be. Like, they create moments, they create time for the audience to appreciate everything that they do and the skill behind it. And it's such a lost art. So I always like to go back and watch that match because it reminds me of how much I like Dean Malenko and how much I like Eddie Guerrero. I mean, let's be honest.
Eddie Guerrero, he's one of my favorites. And also, too, in ECW, where they're all about, like, violence and blood and guts, and for them to have, like, a technical classic like that, and for the crowd to just send them off as they did, I haven't watched that match in a very long time. I might have to revisit.
We're going to watch that.
Really, yeah, I forgot how good it was.
It's a good, like I said, a good day when you have all of this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It gives you, and then it like allows you to then once again appreciate crazy stuff. So That's an awesome match. I love Dean Malenko. I love China. I think
Okay.
China's another person who was just like
Best
way
wonder of the world.
Yeah. And I sometimes sit and I wonder, I'm like, if China was, at her prime today, she would just be like dominating, right? Like, and she was dominant at the time. And people often like talk about how like the Attitude Era was very regressive for women's wrestling and all of this stuff. But then I look and I'm like, you had China as an intercontinental champion. You had intergender matches. Was it SummerSlam 2000? It was Val Venus and Trish against China. And
Yeah, and Eddie Guerrero, yeah.
Yeah. And, people, I feel like that time was very empowering for women, believe it or not. Maybe more so than the Divas era, like the fact that they were open to having these types of matches and these types of feuds. Because there was a period of time where you just didn't see that.
But also, too, it shows how good she was, too.
So good. Have you ever seen her match with Tanahashi?
No, I did not.
No. She has a match with Tanahashi on YouTube. You can look it up. It is very good.
Okay.
You're gonna have to make a list.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're giving us all these recommendations, so we have to keep track.
And I think I might know your answer on this. I like to ask everyone, all the time. You say you have a lot of targets and goddesses right now, but as far as like your thoughts on intergender wrestling and any other like perhaps male competitors that you want to face on the indies right now?
I actually really like intergender wrestling. I am 5'9" and 170, so I am a formidable opponent to a lot of male wrestlers. I think that there's intergender wrestling that is serious, and then there's like comedy intergender wrestling.
Yeah.
I think they're great. One of the things that really I like in intergender wrestling is when you have a female that it's believable she could win, right? Like I don't necessarily like the giant versus the woman story or stuff like that per se, but I love when you have two people who are very, very good wrestlers, regardless of their gender, and they have a great match. A good intergender match I saw was there was a match at Beyond between Willow Nightingale and Chris Dickinson that is awesome. It is so awesome. And you guys should definitely look that one up on
So that's another one on the list.
It's two really strong, powerful indie performers, right? Like good talent. But it felt like a match. Like gender wasn't a thing. It was just a very good wrestling match. So I'm definitely open to doing intergender matches, especially with opponents that are formidable to me. So
very well said. She knows her stuff.
She
does.
like
this one. All right. So more importantly, we've seen some posts on your Instagram and Twitter. I believe you have a dog that's a pug. We're big dog people here. Tell us a little bit about being a dog mom.
Oh, is
this happening?
Is he giving an appearance?
This is Empress John D. Who's not
bring him over a little bit more. Yeah, a little more.
Other
way, maybe. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, you're right.
There, I see him. We see him a little bit.
She's my pug.
Aww.
I even make her like outfits out of my gear scraps. Like she's my buddy, right?
What? I need to see that.
I am a crazy dog mom. We're getting shunned because I woke her up from the nap. That's all this is.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Well, we appreciate the cameo.
Kind of.
Is that a mean growl or is that
I think it's keep rubbing me, mom. That feels really good noise.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It kind of sounds the same after a while.
Yeah. It sounds like all the time. So like when I was at wrestling school, like my mom watched my dog for me.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry I woke you up. I know you're really upset. It's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
But I was so used to just hearing her doing that pug breathing noise at night that like I would just lay in bed and it would be like dead silent. And like my roommates would snore, but a bunch of boys snoring is not quite as endearing as like a very cute small pug snoring.
Yeah, that's understandable.
You're not wrong. And speaking of your Instagram posts, as we're doing our homework here, I believe there was a post of you holding like an old school, one of these kind of like a Game Boy or something.
I swear I didn't pick this to match me, but it kind of worked out.
Like old video games. If I had a disposable income, I would collect them. But I have tried
to see my game room tour.
Yes,
I did see some highlights.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. Like that was really cool. But I tried to preserve like all of my stuff from my childhood. I still have a lot of functional systems and like I have like an old Game Boy Pocket, one of the green ones. It's like still black and white. I think that's
I don't have a Game Boy Pocket.
I still have one of those. I play Game Boy all the time because it's just like the games are easy and it's relaxing. I don't like hard video games. Like I don't want to play The Witcher. I don't want to play Dark Souls. Like I don't want to play anything that's going to make me rage quit. I truly just want to play for enjoyment.
I'm the same exact way. I just like to pick up and play. I don't want to be immersed in like a, 20 billion hour story. Like I kind of just want to pick up and play.
I like stories sometimes in video games. Like I
do too, yeah.
Mass Effect. I loved Mass Effect. I loved Borderlands, but those were like very much like you can like get through the story and not pull your hair out while playing it, right? So that's just my thing. I'm not like competitive with video games. It's purely a relaxation thing for me. So I do play a lot of stuff like Zelda and Pokemon and Donkey Kong and whatnot.
I was going to ask you, what are some of your favorite Game Boy games?
Actually did a complete playthrough of Pokemon White too, and I'm not quite sure which one I want to play next. I might go back and do Pearl, but that was never my favorite one, so I'm kind of like,
Pokemon Blue for me.
Yeah, same here, Pokemon Blue. Even though I'm wearing red, it's Pokemon Blue for me.
Favorite Pokemon?
Ooh.
Okay, so like I was playing Pokemon Blue when I was like 6 or 7 years old. So like angry that I could not beat the Elite Four with my one Blastoise I had leveled up to like level 8. And then like obviously I was just playing Pokemon like a week ago and I was at the same space and I was like, man, I just beat the Elite Four in 15 minutes and wiped the floor with them. God, being old and having strategy is great. Yeah, I'm not just like sitting here like just like wondering why my one beloved Blastoise is not getting the job done.
Blastoise is a good one. Can't go.
Mine's probably Charizard.
Bulbasaur. That's so weird, man. Like the starters right there.
Yeah, I always pick Charmander.
Good choice. Good choice.
That's like the harder one too, isn't it? If I remember correctly, because it's like the first couple of gyms are just like not meant to be friendly to Charmander.
No, not at all. Yeah. Not even close.
So more outside. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's crazy. Wait till you see Nunez's room. It is insane. We're gonna do the tour.
Just the fact that I have a red Game Boy. I don't know many people that have a red Game Boy, so.
There you go.
I had a yellow one, but I lost it in a car accident as a kid.
Oh
yeah.
Man.
It went to the junkyard with the car.
That's crazy. But you did kind of mention off air a little bit. We were talking a little bit. You had, gone through some tough times and gone through some injuries. I guess of the martial arts and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about some of those injuries and kind of recovering and coming back, and you're still, in the ring and doing that whole thing. Tell us a little bit about all those obstacles.
I actually have been fortunate to not have had a ton of crazy injuries, right? I try to be very mindful of my body. I try to train. I try to do a lot of yoga and, just, and be like, have good mobility per se. And I think that that's very key in injury prevention is like having mobility, not having strength, not having speed, not having prowess, but simply just having good mobility and a good range of mobility. Like that will prevent a lot of injuries. So I've been pretty fortunate that I've not had too many crazy injuries, with the occasional broken fingers, broken toes, like that type of stuff. Like
yeah, normal Tuesday.
Yeah, another day at the office.
So I was an ISKA competitor in Ishinro Karate, and I was an IBJJF competitor in America. I competed in tournaments such as the Boston Open, PANS, the Miami Open, and I tore my rotator cuff in one of those jiu-jitsu tournaments. And it wasn't like somebody like ripped my arm out and it was this savage moment, right? I think that when you do combat sports for a very long time, because I had started as a child, right? Like I started taking Ishinro when I was like 8. So I've had a long history of combat sports, and there's just wear and tear on your body. And I think that that particular joint on that particular day, it was like, I'm out. And it went. And I had to go have my shoulder fixed. I tore my biceps tendon and my labrum. So I had to have surgery on it. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And I had a 6-7 month recovery period on that. And I went to physical therapy like every other day at 8 a.m, like for months. But I will tell you, if you're an athlete and you have an injury, like go to your physical therapy and listen to your PT. Like the stuff the human body can recover from is absolutely incredible when you put the time and effort and work in. Like I'm sure you've seen it in other professional sports, such as like the NFL, when people like will blow their knee and then be back in 4 months, like, oh, hey, no problem. And how that happens is truly just by being a dedicated athlete and being dedicated to your recovery, eating well, getting your sleep, you know, doing your physical therapy, like not just like hanging out. I would do what they, obviously I would go to physical therapy and do that. And then they give you like, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have ever had any kind of like orthopedic injury, but they give you like a list of stuff you can do at home to like support the therapy. And I would do that every morning when I woke up. I would do it at therapy. I would do it or like at the gym, right before I did my workout. And then I would do it at night before I went to bed. And if you stick to that regimen, I truly believe you can overcome injuries.
Dedication. I love it.
You talk about working out and eating right and all that stuff, but you did a recent Q&A with fans on Instagram, which is great. I had so many questions, but I'm like, I got to save some for the interview. You talk about being a big foodie, you know, but you're in fantastic shape. You look great. Yeah, that's us right there. You look fantastic. You're putting in the work. Yeah, really good. But tell us like how you're able to maintain that balance. You know, I know you were saying you like barbecue. You're a big donut person. How are you able to kind of find that balance?
I think that the biggest thing that we all lose sight of in our fitness journeys is just having a healthy relationship with food. Like, no food is the enemy. Like, what you need to learn to do is control what you eat. Like, how much, right? Like, so, like, or just be aware of what you're eating. You don't even have to control it. Like, if you wake up and you want to eat a box of donuts, like, go for it, right? But then just be aware, okay, I ate a box of donuts. I probably shouldn't have pizza for dinner. It's like...
Yeah, that happened to me last night. I had a whole big piece of cake. I'm doing it.
I also, obviously, I went to Black and Brave, so I do a lot of CrossFit. That's a big part of my workout. A lot of compound lifts. And I do some, like, body guy stuff, like just generic bodybuilding. I try to do a very rounded workout. And I used to be one of those people that would like die in the gym for like 2.5 hours, like every day. And I just realized that sucks and that's no way to live your life. So now I make it a goal that I'm out of the gym under an hour every day. I
try to do that too. Yeah. Well, when the gym's open.
Not be obsessive. Like, you don't want to be obsessive with your fitness. You don't want to be obsessive with your food. You don't want to be obsessive. You want to be healthy. And being healthy is doing a reasonable workout at the gym, eating reasonably, like having the donuts, having the cake, but also having chicken and potatoes and broccoli and like healthy things, right? Like, so that's one of the things I do is I just try to be aware of like what I want to eat when I want to eat it. Like if I'm going on a trip and I know I'm going to want to eat a bunch of shit, I'm like, all right, okay, let me eat clean this week. So when the weekend comes around and I want to just Cracker Barrel and get like 3 vegetable plates, it's okay. So it's just kind of just having some self-awareness and like, and being kind to yourself. Like don't, if you do eat a box of donuts, it's okay. Just keep trucking. Like, it's not gonna like, don't blow the whole day out, but don't let it discourage you.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up over it.
Really good, okay? Like, I love donuts.
Oh, what's your favorite donut? Like favorite?
I got a couple. So I love a French cruller.
You say all of them, I understand.
I know. I love a French cruller. I like the strawberry frosted, but with no sprinkles.
Ooh, okay. So I usually have sprinkles.
I got you sprinkles this morning, bro.
Yeah.
Just and right here.
What else? Okay, so like I live in Maryland. We don't have Tim Hortons here, but through wrestling and just many ventures, I've gotten to go to Tim Hortons a few times in my life. And they have this donut that is like a glazed donut, but it has like this maple stuff on top. And it's not like a frosting. It's almost like, have you ever had like the maple candy that like melts in your mouth?
Yeah,
like way up north, like in Vermont and Connecticut and stuff. It's like if they had like this gooey maple candy that they just put on top of this donut, and it is like so.
I had it once in Canada, but like she was saying, more up north.
I don't think I've ever had Tim Hortons.
It's good.
But I've never seen them. I think West Virginia randomly has one, but yeah. But I was supposed to do a trip a couple of weeks back, but the pandemic just decimated this trip. I was supposed to visit some friends and do some training and whatnot. And one of my stops was in a place that had Tim Hortons. So I was really excited. And then it just all like, I was like, no donuts. Oh my God.
Nice. Like I was saying, next time you're back in Jersey, before you head to Ocean Gate, maybe next time for Goddesses 2, shameless promo. Shout out to Billy, Charles, Tony. Goddesses is great. Goddesses 2, I can't wait to see what's in store. But anyway, when you're on your way to Ocean Gate, If you're back in Asbury Park, you get a stop through Purple Glaze, good friends of ours. Fantastic donuts, like the cake donuts, and they have like
they have specialty
gummies
donuts,
and sprinkles, and some
those
more.
are so good too. Like the mom
It's
and
all
pop
amazing.
places. Oh, so good.
Maybe we'll bring you some next time. Maybe we'll bring you some. We'll see what we can do. For sure. But you do it all.
That
You know,
would be
you're in the ring, martial arts. You're a foodie. You're putting in the work. I hear you do a little bit of graphic design as well. You know, we got a bunch of logos and stuff here, but I hear you do some graphic design as well.
I do. I went to college for graphic design. I have a BFA in graphic design and a minor in photography.
Oh.
So
Really?
outside of wrestling, I work as a graphic designer in political communications. So try to make sure that people in this country have rights, because that's a big thing right now, is people having rights, just rights in general. Like,
it's important. Yeah, for sure. Did you ever do anything with the photography element at all?
I used to do a lot of like, I grew up at the beach. So I was real big into skateboarding and surfing growing up. So I used to do a lot of like skateboarding photography and stuff. Not so much as I've leaned more into graphic design. Like, it's a skill set I still have. Like when I was learning to wrestle or like just going around, one of the things I would do to kind of get brownie points with people was just take promo photos for them. So I have the skill, but it's like I've not really leaned into it too much these days because wrestling and graphic design has occupied so much of my time. But I love photography. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really cool. Something I've been very interested in. I cover all these events and I do the write-ups for the shows and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm taking cell phone pics. I'm like, I really need to get a camera and learn about this and how to do it. But luckily, you know, it's a great community. Everyone always pitches in. So that's what it's all about. And Ms. McKenna, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. Just a few more questions. You know, we want to be very respectful of your time. I wanted to ask you this. Now, I did kind of ask this a little bit on the Instagram feed, but just for our audience here, I talked to you about a team or a dream tag team partner where you kind of went on about more of a faction idea that I thought was very interesting. Tell everyone about your idea here.
Okay, so like one of the things, if I had the pencil, right? Like sometimes we have these moments in wrestling that if I had the pencil, or if I could just convince someone to let me do this, I would think it would be really cool, since I am a good witch, to have not a tag team, but a stable that was a coven. And it was like all other females that had any kind of ethereal or supernatural type gimmick to them. And then there would be like 2 women in that stable that could contend for tag titles. And there would be a female in that stable that could contend for a women's championship. And then there would be a female in that stable that could contend for an intergender championship, or a championship that's typically held by men. So, and just kind of all of the pieces that you need. Because you don't see a lot of like female stables, right? Like,
no, you really don't.
No, I guess AEW tried to do something with like the Nightmare Collective. Was that what it was called? And it didn't seem to really catch on. But I think there's a lot of potential there to have a stable of strong females that just come in and run the show. Like, that would be great.
I like it. I'm trying to think. There's so many great wrestlers, especially in goddesses. I'm trying to think like who would fit that mold.
I would love to, like, maybe I'll put some feelers out on the Twitter machine, right, and see if anybody's interested in doing this.
Okay, interesting. I may have a hand in some pencil stuff later in October, but I'll let you know. But anyway, but that's a cool idea. I really, really like that.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, and Ms. McKenna, thank you so much again for a few minutes of your time. Before we get out of here, just kind of anything that you'd want to say to the fans that miss wrestling right now, that are struggling with this 2020. Any messages for the fans right now?
I think that my biggest message is, especially as somebody who's very new, is I appreciate you guys like rallying behind me, because when you guys rally behind me, it keeps me going. It makes me want to get better, to train harder, to like get out and be more places so you guys can watch my matches. And it also gives incentive for other people to look into me. So like, truly, without your support, like, I would not have had the opportunities or success that I've managed to conjure up here in like 4 months right out of wrestling school. So that support is so important. But the other thing to remember right now is I know that we're all very, very restless and we all want to get back to like doing our grind in wrestling, but be smart, wear your mask, like, and it's okay to go to wrestling shows, but be smart when you go to the shows. Like, go to shows that are enforcing regulations for you to make sure that you're safe, you know? go to shows that make people wear masks, that take people's temperature at the door, that set up your seat at a comfortable distance from other people. Like, you can still enjoy this thing that we love, right? This wrestling thing that we love, but just be very smart about how you do it. Don't be so desperate that you put yourself in a bad situation, you know, but continue to support us. A great way to support us is just talking about us, interacting with us on our social media. Like, all of that stuff helps build us up for when this comes back to be better and stronger than we were before. So that's my message to you guys.
Very well said. And absolutely, tell us about, we're all about the shameless promo here. Tell us about the social media. I think I also saw some merch in the works. You know, we have our 8x10. We're blessed with some good karma over here. So we appreciate it. That's why you're our first guest. We need some good karma to get this thing rolling again. But tell us about some of the merch that's coming out that you're working on and where everyone can follow you.
Okay, so my Twitter handle is at Kaia, KAIA MCK, and my Instagram handle is also at Kaia, KIAMCK. I tried to make it very easy for people to not have to look all over on all the different places. In marketing, this is called the omni-channel approach. It's making everything cohesive, right? So that's my Twitter and my Instagram. I'm kind of new to Twitter, so I'm like still kind of feeling it out and testing the waters a little bit. But I'm very active on Instagram. I try to update my stories with all my travels. So please follow me there. If you message me, I'll answer your questions. I try to interact with everybody. It might take me a couple of days to get back to you, especially with my job outside of wrestling and it being a very busy election season, but I will get back to you. I do have merch. I have 8x10s available right now. I also have spell kits for peace and tranquility. I have, coming in 2 weeks, I actually have some stickers in the works, and I have 2 t-shirt designs that will be available. So if you follow me on social media, I will post them up when they get in, and you can order them through there. I will ship them out to you, and everything will be really.
Wow, very well said. And on that, yeah, very well said. We are not worthy. Thank you. Ms. McKenna, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. I really enjoyed talking to you, and we're excited to see you at Goddesses too moving forward, and just continued success moving forward. Thank you so much.
Of course. I can't wait to see you guys too. Make sure you come say hi, and I'll have some goodies for you, okay?
Oh, okay. Can't wait. Awesome. I'm excited for that. And guys, like we always say here on the BCP, stay safe, stay positive, take care of each other. We're out. Peace.